He betrayed his gang, went on the run, and died as his mother watched the tragic true story of a life caught in violence and addiction. My cousin was deep in the Aryan Brotherhood, running with dangerous people in Houston. One day, a gang associate approached him with a proposition. He had business in Florida, not far from where my cousin's family lived. If my cousin came along to help, he'd get a few days to visit his mum. It sounded like a good deal. They drove east, crossing into Florida, and eventually neared Bay County. That's when everything went sideways. Stopped at a red light. The man my cousin was with suddenly stiffened, staring at a car a lane over. He recognized the people inside. They were with the man he had come to kill. Without hesitation, he pulled out a gun and opened fire, right there in the middle of the street. The other car peeled out, tires screeching, and the chase was on. They tore through the city, racing through red lights and side streets, heading into a sparsely populated residential area. A few blocks in, my cousin's driver pulled a perfect pit maneuver, slamming into the other car's rear bumper at just the right angle. The vehicle spun out, tires screaming against the pavement before coming to a stop. Both cars emptied. Guns were raised. That's when my cousin saw the man they had been chasing. He froze. It wasn't just some random enemy. This was a long-time friend, someone he had known for years, maybe even before the gang life. In that split second, something inside my cousin shifted. He turned on his own partner, raising his gun and firing. 2 shots to the chest. The man dropped, and just like that, my cousin switched sides. He climbed into the car of the people they had come to kill and disappeared with them into the night. He did 3 years in prison for it. A year and a half after his release, he was a dead man walking. His former gang wasn't the kind to forgive betrayal. They wanted his badges, his flags, meaning they were coming to cut the Aryan Brotherhood tattoos off his body. He knew it was only a matter of time before they found him. With nowhere else to go, he turned to the one person who would always take him in: his mother. She was living with some backwoods redneck in a trailer deep in the Florida Panhandle on unowned land, surrounded by nothing but trees, dirt roads, and the occasional meth lab. She told him he could stay until his SSI check came in. Then he needed to leave. The days passed in a blur of drinking, pills, and meth. 3 weeks later, he got his hands on a gallon Ziploc bag, 1/5 full of OxyContin and MS-Contin. That night, he went too far. He sniffed a massive amount, then got behind the wheel and drove home to party more. But as soon as he arrived, it was clear something was wrong. His skin was pale, his clothes soaked with sweat despite the car's blasting air conditioning. He staggered inside the trailer, swaying like he couldn't quite tell which way was up. It was over 100 degrees inside, but he started shivering, mumbling about how cold he was. His eyes rolled back, and he drifted in and out of consciousness. Then he collapsed. His lips and face turned blue. His mother sat across from him, watching. Instead of calling for help, she hesitated. She worried about the expense. She weighed her options. She waited a full hour after he stopped breathing before she finally picked up the phone and dialed 911. By the time the paramedics arrived, rigor mortis had already started to set in. Maybe if she had called sooner, he would have made it. Maybe not. Either way, his story ended there, alone in a stifling hot trailer, abandoned by the people who were supposed to care about him. His old gang never did catch up to him, but in the end, he still didn't escape.